Can you do aquaponics without a bell siphon? Absolutely. Let's have a little look and see what that means. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'm putting videos up every couple of days, so make sure that you hit subscribe so you can get all of them. This is my bell siphon kicking in. The bell siphon means that the water that was constantly up at this level is now draining out on this side, and the water in the fish tank is starting to rise up. When you have a small little aquaponic system, like this little small one, that means that you have to make sure that you've got enough water in your fish tank for the fish. You can't have the water level up here because when it drains, when it floods up here, the water will come out of the fish tank. It's still going, still going. And that means that the bell siphon, it has stopped. So you can see I actually need to add a little bit more water. But what's happening now is that the water is totally drained out of this grow bed, and keeping in mind I do need to add a little bit of water up to here. But what is happening now is the water is pumping up into the fish tank, up into the grow beds, and the water is dropping out of the fish tank. That means we have less fish in our fish tank when you have a small little system like this. Now this grow bed does not have a bell siphon, and it is running at what we call the constant flow system. So the water is constantly at this level. I have constant water in here. This is all full of water. This grow bed at the moment is filling up with water because of the bell siphon. The bell siphon is what makes you have the flood and drain happening. And why would you have a flood and drain system happening? Excellent question. When you're wanting to have some form of root crop in your system, root crops like the ginger that I have growing in there does not like to have its roots constantly wet. So in that case, you do want to have that flood and drain so that it does have water coming in and water coming out. The other way around, water coming in, water coming out. It does have that. That's one of the reasons why you would have a flood and drain, which is why we have the bell siphon. So let's have a look at the other system and we'll talk you through it. Rightio, so we've just had a look at the bell siphon in action, and if you want to learn how to build a bell siphon, there is a video for that in the how-to playlist, but you don't need to. Okay, so we've just seen how the water floods in, drains out, floods in, drains out, but only if you've got the bell siphon. And I showed you the other grow bed that was running at a constant flow, so no bell siphon, and it was growing well. So the bell siphon works really well if you're wanting to grow root crops in your aquaponics system. But you don't have to use it, you don't have to do that. This aquaponics system, this grow bed is 1.5 meters by 2.5 meters by 30 centimeters deep, right? And this is a constant flow grow bed. That means that the water is constantly at this level. So if I dig down in there, I will come to the water. It won't take much to dig down because it's not that far off the top. It's a constant flow. There is no, people say you need to have a bell siphon to get enough air into the water and to the water roots. I have some air stones, one in the grow bed, 2 in the fish tank, and 1 in the sump because I keep losing them if I put them in the grow bed. But I've also running this system in hot and humid days without the air pump working because it failed and I didn't have a spare because it was under warranty and I wasn't expecting it to fail that quickly. So it ran for a week without the added air from an air pump, and I kept checking the oxygen levels morning, night and during the night, because you'll find that our plants put oxygen into the water at night but take oxygen out of the water during the night. Oh, I got that wrong. They put oxygen into the water during the day, and they take oxygen out of the water during the night. So I decided when I didn't have an air pump working that I wanted to keep an eye on everything because I was very prepared to come out and whisk the water with a hand whisk if I needed to. I had a spare small air pump that would work and would have sufficed. But it turns out that there was absolutely no difference in the aeration because, can you hear? Just for a second, can you hear? You have the water moving around, bubbling into my sump. That is not the sound that you're hearing is not the air stones. That is purely how I've got the water coming into the sump. It is aerating the water. And it ended up that was enough aeration for the whole system on really hot and humid days. And I'm talking temperatures that were 33 degrees and the humidity was up at the 98% mark. Bloody hot and humid. And I did not lose any oxygen out of that system day or night. So you can run your aquaponics system without a bell siphon. And that's what we call the constant flow. Lots and lots of terminology with an aquaponics. We love to complicate everything. You do not need a bell siphon. You need to work out your design and how you would like it to work. You need to make sure you have water flowing so that you've got constant aeration coming in there. You do not need a bell siphon. If you have a bell siphon, then that means that you're running a flood and drain system, like I showed you for the little barrel system. It's floods up, drains out, floods up, drains out. The bell siphon makes that happen. But if you don't have that, you're running a constant flow, so the water is at a constant level, it doesn't change, and as long as you have it so it is moving around and the water is moving and it gets that aeration happening naturally, you will have enough. Does not hurt to get an oxygen test kit. They are about $20 and they take about 2 minutes to test. It worked perfectly and I honestly thought that I was going to have trouble because of, I mean, look at that. I have so much growing in there at the moment and I have a lot of fish and I was thinking, yeah, I'm probably going to have to put that really, really tiny air pump in, but I kept checking the oxygen and I didn't. So it's one of those things, keep an eye on it, but you don't need to have a bell siphon.